Hey, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you are in. It's morning here. It was supposed to be 11, but it's actually 10 in my system. I changed the clock. All right, thank you for being here. It's our third meeting. I hope we'll have at least 1,000 of those before we switch to something else. And yeah, time is flying. Arrived at the third video on Sunday. So, what I want to talk to about today, I have a few topics, and then we'll, if there will be any questions, we'll answer them. And what we are going to talk about, I think that all of them are actually very practical, and judging by the questions I get from you personally, it may actually answer some of those questions that you ask. So before I go on, about 10 years ago I was in Israel and I met somebody by the name of Yitzhak Ginsburg. He is a Kabbalist, a rabbi. He wrote, I think, more than 70 books. I don't know how one can write 70 books, many of them about Kabbalah. And I went to see him 10 years ago in Jerusalem. And at the end of our meeting, he gave me a CD. He's also a composer, he writes music. And he gave me a CD of 20 piano pieces that he wrote. And for the last 10 years, I don't go to sleep without listening to at least for like 10-20 minutes to his music. It's totally amazing. So what I decided to do, I'll see if I can put it in the background for a minute, so just you know what we are talking about. Okay, so this is actually the first piece of the piano. I am going to post a link here in the description so you can download that CD from my Dropbox, but you don't need the Dropbox. Just go there and you'll be able to download it in MP3 and play it, and let me know in the comments what you think of this. I think it's amazing music. It was never published. It's a personal thing. All right. So the first topic I want to talk about is how to achieve big goals. And I was going to do a video about it, but I may as well talk about it here. It doesn't matter. It's also a video. So it's easier if you know how to do it, and if you have the desire and the will to invest. It's much easier to achieve a very big goal than achieving those small goals, for many reasons. The first one is because the universe will help you, and the rest is because you will be really into it. Yeah, I see we have okay, let's just acknowledge here. We have May, which I haven't seen in a while. We have Chia Singh, we have Sonjke, Sami Guribi, Radrad, Dave from England, Zipfir 777. I like that number. It's a very significant number. 7 in general, but 777 even more. The Foggy Witch, of course. LM sounds beautiful. Oh, he's got the Canadian flag here. Money, David Large. Shalom, my friend. Linda, Stephanie. All right, so that would be the first topic. I want to talk about how to achieve really big goals in ways that you may not have thought about. The second topic I want to talk about is why, when you do everything right according to reality transurfing, Goddard, and all these books and courses and what have you, you still it's still not working for you. So I want to touch on that. okay? Because to be realistic, these things don't work for most people. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. It would be just continuously manifesting crazy stuff and not worrying about anything, right? So if you are here, or it means that it doesn't really work. The next one I want to talk about is pendulums, and not so much about pendulums. Everybody probably knows what pendulums are. It's I mean, if you are into reality transurfing, what they are is things that come and grab you and pull you into a street with no exit, and suck your energy and make you mad, and at the end you come out half of what you were before, and you say, why did I get into this stupid thing? So those are pendulums. It could be people, ideas, groups, countries, wars, whatever. So I want to show you how to ride them rather than being ridden by them. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is symptoms of illness, how they relate to pendulums, or how they are pendulums actually, and how to deal with them in a different way, so they don't pull you also into this no exit street, or the exit which you may not like. And the last topic I want to talk about, and I may get into something else while I'm talking because I don't have any kind of a program here, so is what makes a superpower today, and I mean countries. And it's very relevant to the situation we have today, and it's very relevant for you to understand also how the world changed in the last, I would say, 100 years or so. All right, so let's start with the goals. Shaital, Shalom Shaital, Holland, Hugo. Mark. Okay. Strawberry Lolly. Hi. The thing is, if you look at history or even at current events, some people, and like I always say, there is very few that actually go and vote to change reality, their reality for everybody. Most people try to change their own reality, and that's hard enough. So if you look at real cases, and I always like to talk about leaders. You can take Stalin, Hitler, you can take, maybe Putin is not a good example because he didn't get the universe to work with him. You take Elon Musk, you take Steve Jobs, any one of these people, they set a goal that is totally out of their reach and totally out of any logical thinking. If you take, for example, Elon Musk, he decided that he's going to go and force the car companies to make electric cars. I mean, those car companies, you know, nobody goes there to play cards with the car companies unless they have $50, $100 billion, you know, those guys are very rich. But he decided that he's going to go and force them make an electric car. And you know, I was actually following him for a long time, and I recommended to many people to buy the stock in Tesla because I look at the person, not really at the project so much. And I don't know how many of you are in the stock market, but there were huge groups of people with some very, very serious and known investors that created groups to short that stock. Short meaning sell it for whatever price it was trading in the hope that we can buy it later cheaper when the company falls down. Well, guess what? I think there were many, many billions lost there. And you know today where Tesla is, right? And you say, and the same goes for his space company, right? He went there to compete with Boeing and these, you know, this kind of people, these kind of companies that are huge. And you know what? He's the only one flying people to the space station. Boeing failed like 3 or 4 times and still doesn't have it. So how do you do that? How does one do that? So here is in a nutshell. First of all, you have to decide that that's what you want, and pick something that you really are passionate about. And it doesn't matter how nonsense it is. It's like I'm saying I'm going to change the world. Well, you know, I'm sure many people say like, look at this guy sitting there with his microphone and camera and he wants to change the world. Well, everything in history happened, one person started it, whatever you want to look at. Christianity, Islam, any of this, right? So you set that thing and you really think about it and you say, this is what I want to achieve and I'm willing to dedicate everything, whatever it takes. I mean, I still have to have a life and a family, but as far as my energy, call it work energy, and then the key is that you don't plan the steps and the details. You just start doing it, okay? And I'll give you an example. Let's say you take a ride with a Uber guy or a taxi or something, right? And you tell the driver to get to some place. And even before the GPS days, the driver knows, he's driving there all the time. So he knows the way and he's gonna take you there. But you, instead of letting the driver take you there, in every intersection you say, oh, you should turn left here, you should turn right here. No, you're going the right way. This is shorter, this is longer. Well, guess what? Driver is gonna get mad. You will not get to your destination as quickly and efficiently as you could have if you just shut up and just sat there, right? So the same applies here. Don't go into the details. Don't tell the universe, God, whatever that, oh, I want it that way, I want it that way. It's like this woman, this lady or man, you can, whatever, goes with her son, to the beach, and all of a sudden there is a big wave comes and woof, her son disappears in the ocean. So she goes, God, please. So the next wave, the sun comes out. And she says, God, but he had a hat. Where is his hat? So don't be picky, okay? Just start moving towards your goal, and you will be totally surprised and shocked. Yes, Hugo, I did speak to you. How the universe will start to fill in those empty spaces that you have in your plan in a way that you never imagined. In reality transurfing, it's called outer intention. The only way you're going to get outer intention is if you don't put in your own inner intention, right? So just look at the goal and just get going, move towards it. Every day, every hour, do something and start, this is how I arrived into everything in my life, including these videos here. I had no clue how to make videos or how to speak or whatever, but I decided that's what I want to do and I started. And, and you get there. There's absolutely no way you won't get there. So it may sound very simplistic, but like I said, set the goal, be passionate about, take something you really, really love and like and care about, and just move towards it. Don't plan the details. If you plan the details, you may still get there, but it's not going to be the same thing. All right. Next topic is why, when you do everything right, according to reality transurfing, for example, you figure out the technique, Tufti, reality transurfing, you spend a few months reading the whole thing and you wrote down all the different things, you underlined, I guess, you marked with your yellow marker everything that's important, and then you sit down and say, okay, let's make room outside for my new car, and everything is good. And then it doesn't happen. So why doesn't it happen? That's a big one, but I will try to touch on it only on the important things. So the first thing you have to realize that this reality, this universe is based, the fundamental rule of it is uncertainty. There's absolutely nothing certain. Anybody that thinks that something is certain has got a very serious problem. Nothing is certain. We can see it in the quantum world. That's a very good example, because the quantum world, the particles, is actually the brush that paints this reality. So obviously there is nothing can be certain there. And anybody, with all the respect I have to all these authors, anybody that comes and says that there is a technique to manifest or to change reality, there isn't. If you try a technique, then this is science, this is engineering, it has nothing to do with reality. Okay, you can go and design an airplane. What it is, it's based actually on feelings. This whole idea of reality is based on feelings, and they're at the end of the day, even people that don't have in our eyes like maybe emotions and feelings, like people that I mentioned here, or like Hitler or Trump, when they go towards their goal with all the negativity and the bad ideas, they still have a very powerful feeling, right? And this is what affects reality. It's not our visualization, unless it causes you an emotion, right? Because you can visualize as much as you want. Doesn't mean it will happen. I can sit here and visualize, and you know, I will still be here doing the same thing. But the key is that because of the uncertainty, and because every human in the world is unique, just like a snowflake, everybody has to do it in their own unique way. You have to take all these ideas from reality transurfing, from Godard, from whatever you are into, and convert it to your own personality. It has to match your personality. If you believe that you can change reality by looking at the bottom of a cup of a coffee, then take it there. Adjust it to your personality, because the author, like Vadim Zeland in the case of reality transurfing, he tells you how he does things, how things work for him. It's not that he's lying to us, right? The problem is that he's unique, and he's more unique in many ways. He's away from that normal, what we call normal. He's much further from it than most people, right? So when he comes and says A, B, C, D, that works for him 100%. But he never went into somebody else's shoes and looked at it from their perspective, right? This is your job. You have to take it and see what you can do with it. Your way, with your ideas, your beliefs, right? If you are very religious and you believe in God, then you do it through prayer and so on and so on. Don't try this as a fixed technique, okay? Like a recipe to make a cake. It doesn't work like that, okay? And one last thing I want to say about it is that it causes a lot of, I would say, misery, because many people, and this is from my experience talking to you, my friends, not people, is that somebody is asking here, Kumkum, when do you think COVID will end? It already ended. What you see is just the remnants of it. In practicality, you know, it doesn't really exist. It's just that it's still in our mind. So what happens is, you read all this feedback from people and you watch all these videos and you get the idea that, oh, there's something wrong with me. It works for everybody, or most people, it works for them. Look at all this feedback and all this, right? And I am stupid, like I cannot make it work. And people actually get depressed from it, because maybe that was the last frontier for them, really in a deep valley, and it doesn't work, and it works for other people. So be assured it doesn't work for anybody. It works for very, very, very few individuals, and it would have worked for them even if they didn't read reality transurfing, okay? So just use it as a guideline. Don't take it literally. Otherwise you will have a big disappointment. All right. Let's see. Well, Kaliko, I cannot answer really this question here. It's too complicated. You can reach me in person and ask. So pendulums, and like I said, those are just could be physical or virtual entities that grab our attention, like, for example, vaccinating, not vaccinating. So we get sucked into this argument, and then we spend hours and hours replying and criticizing and so on and so on and so on. And then 6 months later, what did you achieve? The ones that are against will not get convinced. The ones that are for example, if you are for, they will go with you and they will confirm everything you say, and you will feel good. But in reality, you didn't really do anything, especially not for yourself. Maybe it made you feel good when people replied and said, But any of those causes that you get yourself involved in, if there is no practical, measurable end result, don't get into it. And what I mean by riding the pendulums rather than being ridden by it, I'll give you an example. Once in a while I get somebody here on YouTube that is negative, right? I may say, somebody said a couple of weeks ago, everything you say is really BS because ABCD, how do you know, and so on and so on. So there's few things I can do. I can get hooked on that and start going into an argument saying, well, what do you mean? I know this and I do this, and how can you say that? Or I can delete the message, that's another, but then I cannot take a ride on it, right? But, and from my experience, I've done it a few times here, and it actually worked every time, is if I reply in a logical, sensible way, looking from the eyes of that person, not from my perspective, and be logical and common sense and say, listen, I don't pretend that I know. Nobody knows, right? We just post our opinions, and you decide who knows, who doesn't know. So if in your eyes this is BS, then this is BS for you. It doesn't matter, but, and somebody else, or maybe it was the same person, said, like, what have you manifested? You don't even have 5,000 subscribers here. Like, well, so my reply was, even if I had only 100 subscribers, the type of people that come here, I'm not looking at the numbers. Like, some people post a 10-second video with some kind of a magic or gimmick and they get 15 million views. So what? This is not a measurement. But what I'm trying to say, if you come back and because that person usually is frustrated and just wants to hit you because it bothers them that somebody claims that they know something and maybe they don't know, and it's more trying to bring somebody down to your level rather than get yourself up to their level. But if you approach it pragmatically, and like I said, it happened here a few times, that person will become actually your best ally. It will, they will support you, and if somebody else comes negative, they will actually hit them. So you turn that pendulum, which was bad, into something that you can actually use to, I don't want to say to your advantage, but it becomes a positive thing that actually helps you move forward. So whenever you get anything like that, negative people, try, first of all, don't confront them, and listen to what they have to say, because many people listen just to answer. They don't listen to understand. Especially us, like the Israelis, nobody listens. They just listen to your first 5 words and then already start to form what they're going to say to prove you wrong. But they never listen to you. So listen to what the person has to say. Try to figure out why they are saying that, and try to come back and be helpful. And you will be surprised, like what happens. So generally, this kind of a pendulum that comes to you, you can always stop and think how I can. It's like a current in the ocean. I think I talked about it in one of my videos. I grew up on the beach when I was a kid in Israel, and I was in the Mediterranean almost every day. I run away from school and go to the water. And as a child, many times I got caught in currents, and I learned at a very early age that if you fight the current or try to swim against it, you are done. You always let the current take you, because it won't take you very far, and use it. Maybe it goes sideways, it brings you closer. Don't fight it. And pendulums are the same way. Don't fight them. You go with them for a while and see how it can take you in your direction. Okay? So that's now, as far as symptoms, that's a very interesting thing. And I'm talking about symptoms of illness. And everything I tell you here, actually, I do. I don't just, it's not just a theory. I practice that. Especially this one I'm going to tell you about. You know, in the Kabbalah, when it talks about interpreting dreams, it says there that whether you do it for yourself or somebody else, always take the positive path, because any dream can have two interpretations. It can be either bad or good. And if you are the interpreter, you can choose whether it's good or bad. Always choose the good one, because whatever you choose, this is what's going to happen most of the time. And how does that apply to illnesses is, let's suppose you get a symptom, okay? Whatever it is, you get a hard spot somewhere, or something that's really scary. Now, how you interpret that thing, and it's like a pendulum, really, because it's trying now to pull you down that alley where you will get scared, and you will go to the internet and you will find the worst case scenario, and this is what you're going to work with. And just like with the dreams, this is what it will become. What you have to do is find the least serious possibility. Okay, so if it's go always to the simplest, but it has to be a logical explanation, because otherwise it doesn't work, right? If you come up with something, it has to be, you have to give the universe a way to create that reality in such a way that it's actually nothing. It's whatever, some kind of a thing that's going to go away after a week. But you have to find, not just say, oh, this is nothing. You have to find something that corresponds to what you got, but the explanation is very, like, non-destructive. I don't know how to put this into words, but I'm sure that you understand what I'm saying. Just find the least dangerous or whatever explanation to the symptom, whatever that symptom is, and stick to it. And the universe will make it that. Okay? Don't go and make it worst case scenario. I hope I explained myself. It's a little bit hard to explain, but I've done it many times in my life, and once I come up with this is what it becomes. And like I always say, reality always brings any kind of magic or miracle through a natural process. So to us, it looks like, oh yeah, of course, that's what it always was, and we don't really accept. Yeah, it does, and it bothers them that they are feeling powerless. Yes, it does. You're right, that's the root of the negativity. Anyway, I will go to the next topic, and maybe I'll come back here and see if I can put it in different words. I want to talk about what makes a superpower. I'm jumping here from Kabbalah to politics, but that's okay. This is what this channel and me are all about, right? Don't get into one topic. And this one is very, very important. And unfortunately, and I don't pretend to be anything like any kind of a world leader, but I don't think that any world leader in the last 100 years or so realized that what it means to be a superpower changed. And it changed completely, 180 degrees. But they continue to act as if they live like 200, 300, 400 years back, right? Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, and here we have people from everywhere, right? It doesn't matter where the person, unless they are extremists. Like, I'm not talking about extremists. There's a very small percentage in the world of people who are very extreme and they're locked into their ideas like ISIS or any of that. But that's a really, really small minority. But the majority of the people, doesn't matter where they live, they want the same thing, right? They want to have a happy life. They want to have food on the table. They want to have a decent apartment or a house. They want the kids, you know, to grow and get an education and not to suffer from wars and like, it doesn't matter if you go to Russia or Ukraine or Israel or Egypt or Iran. It doesn't make any difference. The people all want the same thing. You know, I always say they want an iPhone, a Tesla, you know, and a villa. So why is it that we have many governments in the world spending up to 50% of their budgets building weapons to destroy somebody when the people really want the same thing? Like, what do you want? Okay, so let's say Russia now takes over Ukraine. So what? Does that make them a superpower? So what they are missing, and I hope some of them will listen here, is that in order to be a superpower in today's environment, it didn't work over 100 years ago because people didn't have the freedom to move around the world or to work from anywhere, right? Today I can create a project, like I can create a new iPhone, not leaving my house, just, you know, drawing everything and doing everything on the computer. So what it means that if you want to be a superpower, you have to have an environment where these people will want to be. Like, I cannot see a very successful American scientist that works for one of the famous universities immigrating to China. With all due respect, I just don't see it, right? Because China does not have the freedom and all those facilities that that person wants to. So he goes to the US. And Russia is doing the same thing. Like Putin, what does he do? He doesn't create an environment for people that can actually create the power to become a superpower. They run away. They don't want to be there. So how can you be a superpower? So anybody that thinks that China or Russia or whoever is gonna take over the world is just not realizing what it means to be a superpower. A small country can be a superpower. Look at Israel, for example. Regardless of the fact that I'm from there. You know, it never had any resources. Now it does. They found oil and gas in the Mediterranean, but never had any resources. They had no water, no nothing, right? It had 6 million people most of the time. Now it's more. But the resource is the people. The people can make it a superpower. It's not, you know, it's not the oil and it's not the water and it's not the trees. Superpower can be only built by people, nothing else. And if you cannot attract those people, you will never be a superpower. Forget it. And I hope they get it one day, because everything they are doing today is exactly the opposite. All right. You know, I wanted to touch here also like on North Korea, because they did develop in a bad way. They developed like very advanced weaponry and missiles and all that. But what North Korea is doing is they don't let anybody out. So statistically, they will get some good people. Because in other countries, the good people are running away. They go to a different place. But from North Korea, nobody can run away. So there, you know, statistically, they'll get some good people of their own. Still doesn't make them a superpower. All right. I wanted just to say something funny here to show you the power of people. You know, did you ever believe, and you probably don't realize it even now, that Apple, who is a computer company, right? They started with a computer and they built more computers, then they created this iPad music thing. Did you ever believe that Apple actually is going to put Rolex, that makes the most expensive, or one of the most expensive watches in the world, out of business? Like, it doesn't make any sense, does it? And yet, you know, if you take the younger generation, and you ask them, what do you want, a Rolex or an Apple Watch? Guess what? They don't even know what Rolex is probably. So it just shows you the power of people, what can be done. And here is a concept, and I'll finish with that, then I'll go over all your comments, see if there's any questions here. Here is something very interesting. Before I get into it, I just want to say, you in this reality, in this life, you always have to zoom out. Like, zoom out. Because if you zoom in too much, all you will get is depression. Like, if I could zoom into my cells and see how they operate and all that, I would probably look all day just to make sure the cells work properly. So you have to zoom out. You have to zoom into the out and look at the bigger picture. Don't get stuck in your small problems, your small situations. They are very important, and they really, again, it's another pendulum. Try to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. And the more you zoom out, the more you will understand, and the easier it will be to deal with the small problems and actually fix them and create a different reality. And I'll ask you a question here. Now, if you don't believe in God, then maybe this is not relevant for you. When I say God, could be anything that is a higher intelligence, okay? I don't mean God in a religious connection. So, let's say, my theory is that God, that consciousness, the programmer I call him sometimes, was there by himself and created all this as kind of a dream in his imagination, because he didn't want to be by himself. The only way you can create any experiences is by interacting with another intelligence, right? So here is a question. If you were stranded on an island and you knew that you're going to be there for the rest of your life, and you could manifest creatures, any creature you want, to be with you for a company, what would you manifest? An ant, an elephant, a dog, a horse, or another person? And why I'm asking that is because we humans don't realize how, I don't want to say powerful, it's not a question of power, but how intelligent and capable we are, because that programmer, when he created this to be his company, he would do the same thing. He would create something that it's at his level. Otherwise, it's like you would want to sit on that island and watch ants build a nest for the rest of your life. Okay, you would go crazy. So you would want to have somebody to interact with, to play cards with, to challenge each other, to talk. That would be the ideal situation, right? And here we have exactly the same thing. Just wants to give you an idea how powerful a human is, a consciousness. It's it's beyond imagination. And it's important that you realize that, because otherwise, we all act like ants and let the bigger creatures, set and create our reality, and which is not that great, right? All right, let me see if we have any questions here. May says that Bruce Lipton says, let me see if I click on it, actually it will come on the screen here. Add to broadcast. Bruce Lipton says it doesn't take power to destroy. Power only lies in building things. Yeah, I agree. And when you build those things, right, you create more power, but it's... oh, there we go. It's... no, it's I can really not get over it. Why there would be why they would be building all these weapons, to become a superpower. But we'll deal with that. This is what I'm doing in my book, which hopefully the second part of it I will try to release in the next couple of weeks. I truly believe that this will have a big impact. Okay, Malcolm is asking a question actually, and the question is, unfortunately most people cannot hold images in their mind's eye, and so visualizing doesn't work for most. Since this is the case, is there another way that can get great results? Well, I think that I actually answered that in how to achieve big goals. You know, if you set your mind on something, just go and do it. You know, I actually have a video where I try to summarize the whole reality transfer in a few paragraphs, and then the next video I summarize it in 3 words. And it's the Nike thing. Just do it. So, you know, just do it. Don't philosophize and theorize and you know, by the time you finish reading all these books and figuring all this out, you know, you will be too old to do anything. Okay, another question here from Malcolm actually is, I have a question. Almost all of these methods, transurfing, Neville Goddard, etc., all use visualization as the principal tool for manifest. Look, if they didn't, let's say nobody talked about visualization, right? If you have a goal, like I bring my example. When I lived in Israel, I decided to come to Canada or to North America, right? So what did I do? I was reading and I always had these things in mind, right? Like at that time something fascinated me, believe it or not, was McDonald's. So I imagined myself in there. I visualized it not because somebody said so. I had no idea at that time. Didn't know reality transurfing didn't even exist, right? But you naturally visualize what you want. Nobody needs to tell you visualize it and then it will happen. No. If it comes to you and you really like it and you really want it, you will visualize it. And that's actually a sign that you really want it and you will achieve it. But if you start from the visualization, it's the wrong end to start from. It's like starting a building from the roof. Hang on a minute, I see I'm out of focus here. Okay, this is better. So it's, you know, again, this is all this uncertainty. Nothing is fixed here. But don't start with visualization because you cannot force your subconscious, your mind to visualize something. You know, it's like, you know, in many lectures, people say, oh, don't think about a pink elephant. And guess what, right? So don't get into that. Just think about what you want, and the visualization will happen by itself, and that will be a healthy one, not one that you created by force. Okay, so that's my answer to this. I think it's approached from the wrong end. Chamomile tea. Okay. Please explain mental vessels creation process. Pretty girl. All right. Let me bring it here. Please explain mental vessels creation process. Okay. So it's very simple, very complicated. What a mental vessel is when you come up with an idea or a goal, right? This is a mental vessel because now you are expecting the universe to feel it. Like it cannot feel it if you don't have a desire, you don't have an idea, you don't have a goal, then what is the universe going to do for you? Nothing. It's like something that I always say to people that talk to me is that if you want God to help you, you have to be moving. Like God cannot steer your car if it's parked, right? There's no way. So you have to be on the move. When you are moving, then the car can be steered. And this is what mental vessels are. Maybe it sounds like something more complicated, but it's very simple. Any desire I have becomes a mental vessel, and then either the universe or myself start to feel it. right? Now we have the vessel, okay? We have this desire, so we want to get there, we want to achieve that, and everything we do, we actually filling up that vessel. But if we don't have that desire, there's no vessel. So I hope I explained that properly. Let's see what else we have. Soon enough, I will get 5K subscribers. Yeah, I think it's almost there. But you know, like I said earlier, it's the quality, it's not the quantity. I don't necessarily, hang on a minute. Oh, there. I had something on the screen, couldn't see myself. So it's the quality. And whether it's 5 or 10, you know, I have a group of close friends. It's not even 10. But, you know, I would not change them for 20 million. It's yeah, like I say, it's the quality, it's not the quantity. But of course, it's nice to have subscribers, because the more subscribers, the more amazing people. So every subscriber here, you know, to me is worth its weight in gold. Okay, Kaliko, any other thoughts on this situation? Santos, okay, I'll put it on the screen, even though I don't know if I can answer that one. Maybe somebody else can. I started to hear a noise coming from one wall. Get closer to it, and the sound starts to hear in the opposite wall. I get close to the wall, that's one on the other side. Well, that sounds like a cricket. You know, when I lived in the country, I used to get crickets in the house, and you can never tell where the sound comes from. Danny, hello Danny. Okay, maybe I'll bring this one again up here regarding the COVID. You know, the more you deal with it, the longer it stays here. Really, that's the thing. Because if, let's say, humanity, people would just confront it from day one, and say, you know what, it is what it is. Let's suppose that instead of COVID, it was a heat wave, right? Global heat wave. So what would you do? Right? You would just have to get through it. There is no, you know, the problem is that this whole COVID thing, and I'm not discounting, I mean, it was a dangerous virus, lots of people died from it, but it's what you make out of it. And unfortunately, it became a political issue, it became a credibility issue, it became like who is smarter and who is bigger and who does a better job. And politicians are not really trained to deal with this kind of a situation. They are actually not trained to deal with anything. But when this happened, most people in charge had no clue how to deal with it or what to do with it, and you know, and I think the reactions that were created were more damaging than the virus itself. You know, like look at the mask, and this is my personal opinion. You know, I actually was invested in a company that had to do with viruses and bacteria and so on and so on, and I was exposed to this whole issue of masks. And you know, there is only one mask, and it's called N95, and it's actually dense enough to stop most viruses, which are extremely small, to get through it. All these masks that I would say 99.9% people are wearing in the world, they have absolutely no effect on viruses, not even on bacteria, you know. But politically, it looked right, because it feels good, and we have a mask, and I'm aware of it, that they say, okay, that it stops the virus from spreading when you cough or something, but that's not true either. Okay, it just goes through it. It's like using a fence, like those big fences, you know, with the big things to stop flies. It doesn't work, but you know, it became a big deal. It created a huge pollution issue with more plastic in the environment. And the reason it happened is because politicians have no clue what they are doing. They know how to get elected. They know how to, because they got elected, that's what they do, they know most. But when they run into a real situation, so I don't think the COVID thing is as significant as it was made. And as I said, I think the reactions and whatever was done was way, way more than the actual virus. So anyway, I think that it's gone now, and it may stay as like a flu, will stay in the system, but I don't think we're going to deal with it. I think that the programmer got tired of it too. Now he's going to come up with some other ideas. What about Neville Goddard? Okay, another question here. Life Explorist. Life Explorist, that's good. I like that. What about Neville Goddard, who tells just to sleep in the wish? Where is the action? Well, you have to ask him. I don't know. I personally don't accept any of these as the ultimate truth. That's Neville Goddard's idea. If Neville Goddard, how can I put it? He may have convinced lots of people and showed lots of people something that makes them comfortable, but I don't think he made that much of an impact. He changed the world in any way. That's his opinion. That's all. I have my own opinions. I don't tell people to sleep in the wish. Does this relate to closing, sealing your reality bubble when moving in the direction of the big goal? That's a good question, because I had a video about those bubbles. And yes, absolutely, because if you don't seal that bubble, what will happen, the negative people will convince you that you are stupid, that it cannot be achieved, and many other things will come at you, and we are very easily distracted, and then we say, oh, what this really, because usually when we decide to achieve a really, really big goal, we are also skeptical. Nobody just goes and says, like, very, very, very few people are totally in there. But this is the bubble. Because if you take, I go back to Hitler, for example, right? He sealed himself in a bubble. He didn't listen to anybody. That's maybe part of the reason that he eventually lost the war. But he was totally in a bubble that was completely sealed. And regardless of good or bad now, he achieved his goals because he was not distracted. Nobody told him he cannot achieve his goals. And yes, so the answer is that. Yes, that's the way to closing, sealing your reality bubble. Absolutely. But it's not easy, of course, because you are exposed to everything. So you have to have the willpower to do it. Malcolm says, this is what I needed to listen to do today. You have made my day, Shlomo. Thanks. Okay, that was at the very beginning. I didn't say anything. Oh, no, actually, no, it wasn't. Okay, I'll go quickly here just to make sure that I answer everybody. Greeting from Ireland, Zephyr. Thank you. Hello from Germany. Oh, this one I like the most. Look what it says. Okay. Great to see you too, David. David Large. Yeah, we had a conversation. Hello from upstate New York. One of my sons is up there right now. Okay. Florida. Money is in Florida. LM in Victoria. Okay, so you're in Victoria. That's why the Canadian flag. All right, my friends. I think that this will do it for today. I didn't get any questions on my blog, which is kind of surprising because, it's free. I normally charge people for asking questions, and here I'm giving you the opportunity to ask questions for free, and nobody asked any questions. So again, I'll post the link to the blog at the comments here, to get not the comments, at the description, together with the link for the music, which I'll put right now here to finish this broadcast. And yes, I will see you again next Sunday. And please ask questions. I would like to get 20 questions. That way I don't have to prepare any content. You realize this, right? Make my life easier. Okay, thank you all, and see you soon.